Welcome to One of Those, the show that explores the art of sneaker culture. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. So on today's episode, I'm going to editorialize a bit. It's just me, no guests. I'm going to be talking about one of the bigger stories in sneaker business and sneaker culture. And no, it's not Kanye, but it's similar. We're going to be talking about Kyrie Irving, him being suspended by Nike, and Phil Knight, the owner of Nike, pretty much coming out and saying that the relationship is more than likely done. We're going to talk about what led up to this and the future, not only for Kyrie, but for signature athletes and big names behind sneaker brands. Do we need them? We're going to get into that in a second. But before we do, I have to let you all know, as I do every week, you want to go ahead and subscribe to the Up On Game Network. Up On Game Network is where it's at. We've got all sorts of content, all sorts of dope content creators, man. And we're adding new people to the team every single day. It's a growing network. It's a dope network. I'm on there. My man LeVar Arrington is on there. Listen, I can't even name everybody, but whatever you're looking for, we have up on the Up On Game Network. So follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us on all podcasting platforms, and follow us on all social networks at Up On Game Network, at Up On Game Network Presents. We got it for you, whatever you're looking for. So like I mentioned before, we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving. We're going to get into all of the controversy surrounding him and why he lost it seems like he lost his Nike deal. And we're going to talk about the future of not only signature athletes, but big names behind sneaker brands. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so Kyrie Irving, we're all familiar with him. He's an NBA champion. He's one of the best basketball players of his generation, if not all time. I wouldn't put him top 20 of all time, anything like that, but I believe he made the 75 greatest list, and he made that for a reason. He's a dope ball player, man. I enjoy watching Kyrie Irving play basketball. However, Kyrie Irving is a very opinionated man. We all know this, and there's nothing wrong with being an opinionated man. I think that free speech is a landmark of our country. But with free speech, obviously comes the right to rebut for people to have opinions on what you're saying. But, I just got to be honest. When it comes to Kyrie Irving, he gets on my nerves sometimes, but I don't, loathe him or dislike Kyrie Irving. Not at all, actually. I just disagree with him a lot, and that's okay. When we talk about the other dude, he who shall not be named, right? We talk about him, and we talk about some of the things that, like he could be named Kanye. When we talked about Kanye, because we're talking about Kanye a lot on this show lately, I do have to bring him up only because there's this direct comparison, because they both got in trouble at the same time for very similar reasons, being anti-Semitic or being perceived to be anti-Semitic, right? I always leave that to the group that's been quote unquote intact, right? Like if someone talks about black people, I think it's on black people to say, yeah, we felt attacked, and that's what it was. When it comes to Jewish people, I am not Jewish, so I can't speak to what a Jewish person should or shouldn't be offended by. That's just my stance on it. So Kanye West, to me, feels like he was being anti-Semitic, but whatever. I feel like Kanye West wants to push the envelope a lot and say things that are off the rails in order to try to get a rise out of people. I believe that Kyrie Irving is only sharing things that he believes, right? Or that he's curious about. So let's jump right into it. Let's just talk about what happened with Kyrie Irving and why he may have lost his deal with Nike. So Kyrie Irving has, over the past couple of years, become a more controversial figure, again, like I just explained, because his opinions on things. It started with the whole maybe Earth is flat thing, and, that kind of gave him a reputation of being like a unserious person, even though he wants to be considered a very serious person, all right? Now, I'm not here to talk about whether the world is flat. It is not, obviously. The world isn't flat. We don't have to debate this, right? But Kyrie Irving saying the world is flat does not offend me. It's very dumb. It's not well thought out at all. There's plenty of evidence to show you that the world is not flat. And I'm personally annoyed by people that just like to throw out, like, I'm not saying I believe it or don't believe it. I'm just saying, what if? I don't believe. I think that's just like a low form of conversation. So, again, Kyrie Irving can have any opinion that he wants. That one there did not bother me. Then it came down to 2020, the pandemic, COVID. The first thing was the bubble, okay? During the bubble, Kyrie Irving, I believe, did not participate in the bubble. The NBA bubble, we all know what we're talking about, did not participate in the bubble and encouraged a lot of players not to participate in the bubble because at the time there was a lot of social unrest happening. The George Floyd stuff was going on. There were protests happening everywhere. And Kyrie Irving felt like there were more important things to think about, and maybe he, as a person with a platform, could handle them as opposed to be playing basketball. Again, that's not for me. I can have my opinion on that, but again, that doesn't offend me. That's not something that's offensive to me. I could disagree with what you thought you may have been able to do. And I could definitely believe that you should have played basketball, but this isn't something that is a personal attack on me. And I'm only trying to lay out the difference between him, a person who possibly has lost his sneaker deal, and Kanye West, a person who did lose their sneaker deal, right? So then there was that. Then after that, as we got into the NBA season, Kyrie Irving was taking time off, and then there was the COVID protocols and the vaccine protocols, okay? Kyrie Irving did not want to take the vaccine. There were vaccine mandates across the country, especially in New York City. The Nets ownership was very disappointed in Kyrie for not wanting to take the vaccine and not abiding to New York protocol. So Kyrie Irving did not play the majority of the 2021 basketball season, the NBA season, and a lot of people were upset with him about this. Now, I am a person that took the vaccine. I have the vaccine and I have been boosted, and I plan on getting boosted again. That's my stance on that. But again, that's his prerogative. He chose not to play. I can understand why his teammates may be offended by it. I can disagree with Kyrie Irving. However, this is not offensive to me. And this is what I'm trying to lay out about Kyrie Irving. I don't think Kyrie ever goes out to hurt anyone. I don't think that's ever his intention. I don't think he thinks things out, and I think that he slips up, okay? So Kyrie is a very opinionated person. Now Kyrie's the type of person that you want to try to get a quote from, ask him something wild, see if he has an opinion on. He has a reputation of being kind of like a, what we call in our community a hotep, right? A dude who's just like deep but not really, and just thinks he knows a lot, and whatever, right? It's not a big deal. Now, when it comes to Nike and the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, have not been happy about any of this because, again, this is a person that represents their brand and, in their opinion, is not representing it properly. There was a Kyrie, I believe the Kyrie 10. I might be wrong about that number. Forgive me for not having the research on the specific shoe because it's not really important to what we're talking about, but I believe it was the Kyrie 10 that came out. It was supposed to come out last year. Well, it did come out last year. When they announced it, Kyrie Irving spoke out, said that I have nothing to do with this shoe. The shoe is ugly. I didn't design it. I'm paraphrasing. I didn't design this sneaker. I ain't got nothing to do with it. This upset Nike. And this is important to know. Okay? This is important to know. Okay? When it comes to Nike basketball, there aren't a lot of popular Nike basketball shoes in terms of ones that are backed by like an NBA athlete, a signature sneaker. There just aren't a lot of popular ones, right? It's not like the days when it was Jordan and the Barkley and anything like that. In fact, really what they've been able to do is just sort of like re-release a lot of these popular sneakers that were popular in the 90s, right? We all know the Jordan stays popular, but like the Giannis and the Kyrie and the LeBron does okay, but really it's retros with LeBron as well. They aren't super popular in terms of like fashion shoe wear. So I believe Kyrie Irving, out of all of them, had the most popular one. My son has about 4 pairs of Kyries, right? Just like the go-to sneaker for like kids. You get a Kyrie for kids. You know what I mean? Like it's a cool little shoe. It's durable. They can beat it up and it still looks good if you want to take them to like a birthday party or something like that. Like it's really that simple when it comes to the Kyrie. I'm sure it's a great basketball shoe. I've only owned like 1 pair of Kyries in my life, and I certainly wasn't hooping in them. And they were cool. They were cool, but they're a basketball shoe. They're not like comfortable. It's not something you can wear around. All right. So Kyrie Irving, in many ways, is Nike's, I won't say bread and butter when it comes to basketball sneakers. In fact, that's something I'm going to touch on a little bit later. But in terms of signature athletes, I think Kyrie, it was Kevin Durant for a while, but Kyrie Irving was the only one that was kind of notable that still had a sneaker that I think mattered in terms of the name. So for Kyrie to come out and speak out, and I think this would have mattered if any of them, anybody, Giannis, Paul George, KD, LeBron, anybody on the Nike basketball would have come out and like crapped on the shoe, their signature shoe, I think Nike would have been upset. This is important to remember because this is saying that Kyrie and Nike now have a tumultuous relationship. Because of his off-the-court antics, in their opinion, the things that he talks about and the things that he, not wanting to play ball, not wanting to take the vaccine, things like that. Again, not offensive to me, but for a company, something that they don't feel like represents them well, right? There's that. And then there's saying that the signature sneaker that they developed is ugly and you don't have nothing to do with it. Obviously that's going to cause a little riff. Okay. But none of that was enough for Nike to say, we're done with you. But remember, when I had my conversation about Adidas and Kanye, I had this conversation and people got so mad at me. How could you say this? But I said, companies have long memories. And the Kyrie deal is so much different than the Kanye deal because Kanye was supposed to be the designer of these sneakers. It was his brand and it was his thing. Kyrie is just a signature athlete. I'm sure he has input on how the sneaker looks and how it works. I'm sure he tries it on. I'm sure he works out in it to see if it's something that he wants to wear because it's his shoe. He has to play ball in it. But he's not like, he doesn't own the Kyrie Nike brand. We all understand that. These companies have long memories. And sometimes people are kind of looking for a way to get out of a deal and waiting for you to slip up. So let's get to the present. Kyrie Irving is up one night scrolling the internet, trying to find information on Yahweh. Okay. He stumbles upon a documentary on Amazon called From Hebrews to Negroes. This documentary is about it introduces the idea that the original Hebrews were of African descent, and that this is what the documentary says, that anyone, well, I don't want to say what the documentary says because full transparency, I'm not watching the documentary, but the controversy that comes from the documentary, I don't want to get far into the documentary, honestly. The controversy that comes from the documentary is that it supposedly has anti-Semitic rhetoric within the film and the book. And people wanted to know why Kyrie Irving would retweet the link to this documentary, which is what he did. So there's a press conference. Kyrie Irving is asked about this, and this is where I think things went wrong. Kyrie Irving is asked about the documentary. The back and forth between him and the reporter, more on Kyrie's end, I'm gonna be honest with you, is nasty. Frankly, it's contentious. It's short. Kyrie Irving is not willing to answer any of the reporter's questions. And he's certainly not willing to say whether or not he thought the documentary was anti-Semitic or not. So this becomes a thing. The Nets owner is asked to meet with Kyrie several times. Had asked to meet with Kyrie several times. At the time, Kyrie would not meet him. Kyrie wouldn't really apologize. Really, he would just sort of say, I'm not anti-Semitic, but. And the thing spiraled out of control, and it didn't help that it was coming after the Kanye West fiasco. People are on high alert about these things. I don't want to say Kyrie got caught up in it because, whenever you're sharing information, I don't care if you're a celebrity or not, you're sharing information and you don't really know what's in that information. That's why I didn't want to get into the documentary on this show, right? Because I haven't watched the documentary. I know people that talk like that. I know people that kind of have those beliefs, and I've had big debates with those people, but I haven't watched the documentary. All I know is that people that have say that there are some things in there that are problematic, right? So when you are sharing information about things, tweeting things, people are going to ask you, well, what's up with that? Do you believe in that? And if you aren't prepared to represent what you shared, then you're going to get in some trouble. I mean, that's what it is. I don't see how we could see it any other way. So anyhow, now Kyrie Irving has become a face of anti-Semitic rhetoric, similar to Kanye. It's the times we're living in now. And he has been suspended by the, I'm about to call them the New Jersey Nets. He's been suspended by the Brooklyn Nets. And he has been given like a laundry list of things he needs to do in order to get back into good graces. I do think a lot of it has to do with the fact that your employer has asked to meet with you and you refuse to meet with them. And now they kind of, but I also think some of it is just sort of, I don't know. Not for show, but it's just like we're putting the hammer down because you have been a thorn in our side for a long time, right? We couldn't do it to you last year when you wouldn't play and when you wouldn't show up to the bubble, but now I have a reason. And by the way, I'm offended by what you said. I think all these things can be true. All right. Nike gets into it and Nike suspends him. Suspends his partnership with Nike. Later on, Phil Knight, as I mentioned before, the owner of Nike comes out, CEO of Nike, and comes out and says, yeah, the relationship is probably done, and we've pretty much had enough of him. So what I want to talk about is whether or not that's fair or not. And then I want to get into something a little bit deeper, okay? Do I think this is fair? My stance remains the same as it did with Adidas and Kanye, that a partnership is a partnership for a reason. And when you enter a partnership with somebody, it's not just about what represents you and what you like. You are now representing someone else. For instance, I'm a married man, okay? If I represent myself poorly, or if I represent my marriage poorly, my wife and my children have every right to go, husband, dad, you're not representing us properly. That doesn't mean I have to cave to everything they say or I have to cave to everything my partner said, my business partner has to say, but I have to at least consider it. I have to at least consider it. When I am out doing my thing, I have to consider what my wife thinks, how I'm representing my family. How much of that a person cares about is dependent on that actual person. Some people, it only matters about 1%. Some people it's 100%. Some people it's about 50%, right? Either way, your partner has every right to say, ho, ho, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't think you're representing this marriage well, and I certainly don't think you're representing this business well. That's any business partnership. I don't care who you are. I don't care if I agree with you or disagree with you. I don't hate Kyrie Irving at all. I don't like seeing this happen to Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving signed a contract with Nike. Kyrie Irving signed a contract with Nike. And if he isn't representing Nike properly, there will be consequences to that, especially depending on what your contract in your situation is. I talked about this till my face turns blue. If you are not an owner of the product that you are selling or have ownership rights with whoever you partnered with, that person has power over you. He is an employee of the New Jersey Nets, and he is not an employee of Nike, but he don't own Nike. He gets a percentage. He got to sign a contract with Nike, so in a sense, he is an employee of Nike. Signed a contract with Nike. There's no Kyrie brand. It's not like Jordan brand. I'm sure his contract is different than, say, LeBron's contract, or certainly different than Michael Jordan's contract. Some people have more power than the other, but you get what I'm trying to say here. You get what I'm trying to say here. This is business 101. I don't know why we can't figure that out. So is what's happening to Kyrie, is it fair? No, but it's not about fair. If I hire you to sponsor something for me, if I hire you right now, listener, to say, you know what, I'm going to pay you money to go out and represent the What Are Those podcasts. And the first thing you do is get into an argument on the street with someone about, I don't know, whether green Kool-Aid is better than purple Kool-Aid. Or green Gatorade is better than blue Gatorade. And it's a heated argument. And the person I tasked you with going out and getting a subscription from, right, or buying a t-shirt or showing up to a live event, now is not showing up to a live event because you couldn't help but to argue with them about blue Kool-Aid. I got a problem with that. As a business, I have a problem with that. If you can't represent my brand properly after I paid you to represent my brand properly, I have every right to say, well, I don't want you representing my brand anymore. If I pay you to go play basketball and then you don't, if I pay you to go out and do a press conference and you arguing with the press, I have every right to say, come meet me. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out. This is not the same as the Kyrie situation. I'm sorry. This is not the same as the Kanye West situation. Kanye West, I felt like, was purposely trying to burn down the earth for whatever reason, to get out of his deals or whatever. And he was publicly disrespecting his business partners. Kyrie Irving is not publicly disrespecting his business partners. He's not publicly disrespecting the Nets, and he's not publicly disrespecting Nike. By the way, I'm being real generous calling him a business partner of the Nets. He works for the Nets. So his employer, he's not publicly disrespecting. And let's just be fair and say he has a partnership with Nike, which I'm not quite sure that's what it is. I think he's has a contract with Nike to represent and whatever. Either way, I don't think he's publicly trying to disrespect them. I think there's a really hard lesson in here and a real crossroads moment for a person like Kyrie Irving. Dave Chappelle was on Saturday Night Live this weekend. Did a great monologue about Kanye. He mentioned Kyrie briefly, but really he talked about Kanye the most of the time. And one thing Dave Chappelle said is that though he disagrees with Kanye, he made that very clear. He is not coming on there saying Kanye got some type of secret point or anything like that. But what he was trying to make, the point I felt like he was trying to make, and he said the joke that in my first special, I said I wouldn't want to have a shoe deal because the moment I say something they don't like, they're going to take it away. And then he jokingly said now Kanye West walking around LA barefoot with his chain out because he talked about Kanye West said only billionaires don't wear chains, only millionaires wear chains, whatever, right? I thought that was brilliant. There are people that have approached me about sponsorship. I have actually worked with a few. You look on my timeline, you can see a few of them. I can't say them on this show because they aren't sponsoring this show. However, I've worked with sponsors before. I've had people come up to me and ask me to sponsor, and I've had to have conversations with those people to see if this is someone whose brand I want to represent, because I'm going to be a certain way. I'm going to speak my mind no matter what. LeVar know it. Dustin know it. Anybody I work with, they know I'm going to speak my mind. But I will never disrespect the brands I represent. You feel where I'm going with this? You see what Chappelle was saying? Kyrie Irving may not need a sneaker deal. This could be a good thing for Kyrie. I'm not saying you need to be rooting for Kyrie Irving, especially if you are a Jewish person and you feel offended by Kyrie Irving. You have every right to feel that way. I'm not telling you how to feel, and I'm not even trying to dive in that pool. What I'm trying to say is that a person like Kyrie may not need a sneaker deal because Kyrie wants to speak his mind. Kyrie wants to do what he wants to do. Well, you at home, you know the consequences of doing whatever you want to do, right? You understand how that could potentially go. You're smart. You know that there's consequences to doing whatever you want to do. Doing whatever you do means you may wake up this morning, I don't feel like going to work. You either want to use some of your leave, use some of your sick leave, lie and try to get out of it, or you might get in trouble. Or maybe your boss is cool. I don't know. There's consequences to these things. I don't feel like getting up and feeding my children today. I just don't feel like it. I don't want to. Consequences. Consequences to every action. What I think we've lost in these conversations is that just because a person is rich and famous doesn't mean that it's any different for them than it is for us. But there's something else here that I really want to get to. Let's just jump into it now. Why do we need signature athletes to hawk a sneaker? Why do I need a celebrity to help me buy a sneaker? We talk about sneakers every week on this show. That's all this show is about, right? That sneaker behind me that I got married in, that's a Jordan, yeah, but we passed it being a Jordan. There's nobody behind. This is a NY to Paris Jordan 1. It's the story behind it that makes it sell. The Alma Manier 4s that are coming out. Again, Jordan brand is just a brand now. It's just a name. Kids not thinking about Michael Jordan. Nobody's going to buy Jordans because Mike did anything on the court anymore. It's just a brand name, right? It's like Roy Rogers or Roy Rogers. When the last time you heard about Roy Rogers? But it's like Wendy's, right? It's just a brand name. Purdue, whatever, right? The Alma Manier. It's a store. The Union. Slahy Bembury is just the designer of the sneaker, of the New Balance. Joe Freshgood is just the designer. Do we need, and this is a true question, and I want to know what you all think about this one. Do we need athletes and celebrities to endorse sneakers anymore? Have we graduated past that? Because as we become a freer society, as we have more means to more access to information, bad information or good, right? As we have more access and ability to speak, as we encourage athletes and encourage people just in general to speak their mind more, some people are going to be really smart. Some people are going to be pretty stupid. And most people are going to be in between. But a brand is only going to be focused on one thing. Can you help me make this? That means money, in case you don't. Make sure you get that. Kyrie Irving, in Nike's mind, was going to cause them to lose money. We could call out Nike, sure. We can call out the NBA, sure. We can say people being hypocritical or being too harsh. Sure, you could say, yeah, Nike, you could do this, but y'all got child labor and all. You could do all that and you wouldn't be wrong. But you know why they doing this. Because a large group of people are offended, and they are, no matter what you want to say, it don't matter what you think. If you're not part of that group, you don't got no right to say. They offended. Bottom line, man wouldn't apologize or didn't apologize quick enough for them. They got every right to carry it that way. I stand by that because when it falls on us, we want to do the same. So a large group of people felt offended. Nike felt like that would impact their bottom line. Nike saying the deal is basically done. This won't be the last time this will happen. Dave Chappelle has a point. Especially now that we're starting to look past athletes and saying, hey, we want this celebrity, DJ Khaled, and this person and that person to be a face behind a sneaker, well then I'm wondering if it's worth it. Maybe it's just because I'm an adult male. I'm not a kid. Okay, so I know that like the Zions, I guess, do well. You know what I mean? That's a Jordan brand sneaker, but Zion Williamson is behind it. Kids love Zion. The Lonzo Ball joints, or the Melo Ball, excuse me, the Pumas, they do well. So I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that a signature athlete could put a lot of power behind your sneaker, but really, we talked about this before. Like, I'm not sure we really need them. I'm not saying I don't want them to make that money. So again, this is just my opinion. But if you're a signature athlete and you aren't understanding, or a brand ambassador of anything, this is just a lesson to anybody that wants to especially get in this work. If you're a brand ambassador, if you're partnering with somebody, you can't represent your partners well, you're going to be in trouble. We've seen it twice now from huge celebrities. Huge celebrities. One of the best basketball players in the league and one of the most famous artists ever. We watched them get knocked down, a couple of pegs. I'm not talking about what they said and whether I agree or disagree on what they said. In fact, I'll just straight say it. If you offend people, I've said it already. If you offend people, you got to deal with that. But at the end of the day, I just wonder, what are we doing here? I haven't bought a sneaker because of a celebrity in a long time. I buy a sneaker because I like the story behind it. I like the design behind it. It's appealing, and I want it. I think most kids are like that. And I think we're going this route anyway, if you look at the sneaks that are coming out. But I also think it's just better for everybody. Kyrie Irving don't need no sneaker deal. And if you are a sneaker company that's going to sign Kyrie Irving, you know what you're getting into. You know who you're signing. That's what I would say for the next brand that signs Kyrie Irving. To be fair to Kyrie Irving, you know what you're getting into when you sign Kyrie Irving. That's not pretend. Nike's tired of it. If it's Reebok, if it's Adidas, if it's some, Chinese sneaker company or whatever, you know what you're getting into when you sign Kyrie. Don't act surprised. And it's totally fair if those brands go, you know what, I don't want to deal with Kyrie, just like the brands are saying I don't want to deal with Kanye, even though to me they're two different situations. Maybe Kyrie don't need a sneaker deal. I know that sucks because there's a lot of money on the table. I don't really have the answers to this. I just really want to throw it out there. But either way, it's interesting to me. To wrap this up, I don't have a true problem with Kyrie Irving as a person. I think Kyrie Irving does deserve a second chance. I think Kyrie Irving deserves a chance to play basketball again. I would like to see him and Nike patch it up. Kyrie Irving has apologized since. Sometimes just, again, I wasn't part of the offended group. So I'm not here to tell them what they should or shouldn't do, what they should or shouldn't accept. I just hope it works out. I'm a fan of Kyrie Irving. I'm not a fan of his opinions, but I'm a fan of him as a ball player, and I think he's a good guy. I think he's a dude who really is trying to do good in the community. I just think he needs guidance, honestly. I really do. And I wish the best for him, but I understand why it's happening. I will always understand that as a person that's in a partnership, in a few partnerships, I get it. So we'll see what happens. I do want to know your opinion on this, though. Hit me up you can email me to What Are Those Podcasts, or you can hit me up on my social media, MSR_Adam. You know what it is. I do want to know what you all think about this because it's an interesting conversation. The Kyrie thing is not as black and white to me as the Kanye thing. Kanye was trying to scorch earth, and it scorched on him. Kyrie, I think, is just, I won't call him a misguided soul. I feel like that would be a lot. But I feel like Kyrie is a person who just needs a little guidance. He needs a big brother. He kind of needs somebody to just sort of walk him through some of his thoughts. But he's also a guy who has every right to have his opinion, He just needs to be prepared to discuss his opinion a bit more. and give people clarity. So I want to know what you guys think about it. Hit me up in the comment section below. Again, big shout out to you guys for tuning into the show as always. I really appreciate you all. Thank you for following me. Thank you for sticking with me and keeping the show going. Also, thank you for sticking with the team, man. Follow the squad, the Up On Game Network, at the Up On Game Network. You know what it is on YouTube and podcasting platforms. Get with us. Follow the squad at the On My Feet Network, at On My Feet Network. Shout outs to the crew over there, man. PD, AJ, Dustin, everybody over there, man. Brian, all the guys doing their thing, man. Bunch of good dudes over there. Follow them. Follow me, MSR_Adam. MSR_Adam. I got a link tree. You can get to my TikTok, you can get to my YouTube, all of that in there. You know what it is, man. Continue to mind your mental health. It's crazy out here. Mind your mental health, ladies and gentlemen. I love you and I want to see you surviving out here. You get it? Mind your mental health. Also mind your physical health. And ladies and gentlemen, never ever forget and please continue to be great. I'm up out of here. Peace.